This conference will now be recorded.
Guys, once again, good morning, good evening. Thanks for joining this first introduction session. This is Satish from Isha. Um, I have close to 14, 15 years of experience in performance testing, engineering, and the product development as well. Okay, and I've been with Isha for last 2 to 3 years. Um, I especially focus on performance engineering courses. We've also taken some of the crash courses on Selenium for performance, DevOps, end user experience, end user monitoring, and um, K6 is our new course um, on the performance testing tool. You might have seen other testing tool courses like LoadRunner, Jmeter, NeoLoad. K6, this is going to be our K6 performance testing um, course. I would say it's more from a beginner perspective. The reason is K6 itself is still evolving, um, and still it is at the initial stage of implementation, initial stage of usage. But again, it has picked a lot over the last 1 year. Okay, if you see the trend of the open source, the Jmeter is one of the best open source what we have today, and K6 is another open source tool. And initially, the K6 was with somebody called Load Impact. You might have word called Load Impact. The K6 after it got acquired by Grafana, right? You might have all heard about Grafana, another open source visualization tool. So K6 is acquired by Grafana, and with that, last 1 year, we've been seeing very aggressive usage of this tool by lot of people. Okay, especially when it comes to the microservices. The K6 is lot preferred by developers, and you all know the architecture. Um, the architecture of your application is already moved into a microservices based architecture, right? All your applications, most of your applications are now microservices based architecture. It's a small services behind the scene, which is actually doing the actual function of your um, components. So with microservices picking up a lot in lot of the enterprise architecture, K6 is going to play a major role. One reason is open source. Second reason is it's something a developer likes a lot. Okay, since the developer likes a lot, they started creating the scripts for their unit testing, their component testing uh, when they develop, right? So just because of that, in the ecosystem, in your enterprise, in your project, K6 will be part of the tool at the beginning stage itself, right? And then when we, as a performance tester, when we involve into a project, already the K6 might be there. People would have started using K6. There might be some K6 scripts, which means we will not have choice to go and use another tool like Jmeter or LoadRunner, because the K6 is already going to be there in the ecosystem, and people will prefer to continue using it. They will use your scripts, you will use their scripts. So we cannot maintain two scripts, right? You cannot maintain Jmeter, they cannot maintain K6. So no projects are going to accept that. Okay, so one important reason the K6 has picked up in last 1.5 years is the K6 tool, as I said earlier, it has been acquired by Grafana. Grafana being a visualization tool, a very famous, very popular visualization tool. So this Grafana is acquired by K6, because of which this collaboration worked out very beautifully. Second, for the web services, for your REST APIs, for your microservices, K6 seems to be a preferred one by the developer. eventually, because of that, we are ending up using that tool as well. Third, um, critical one, most important one, I would say, the resource consumption. Okay, so you might have seen LoadRunner, you might have seen Jmeter, right? We will use a lot of load generators, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, depending upon the number of users or the TPS that you want to achieve. You might use more load generators, right? K6 has been built very lightweight. Okay, when compared to Jmeter or when it compared to your LoadRunner, it can be 3 times better or even 5 times better when it comes to resource consumption. Because of which, say if you want to run 1,000 user test, okay, you might need 3 or 4 load generators in Jmeter. But in with K6, you might just need 1 or maximum 2 to run those 1,000 user. That when it comes to your costing, when it comes to your load testing infrastructure, this is going to be a huge benefit to the project team. And slowly and steadily, the project teams, your development team, started understanding these benefit that K6 is going to provide them, and that is also one of the reason where this is getting evolved, this is getting used very widely. Okay, so if you're going to run multiple tests for multiple releases throughout the year, right? You use the on-prem load generators or you use cloud load generator, whatever it is, end of the day, you need to pay money for the load testing infrastructure. And the case where you need to run 10,000, 50,000 kind of an user load, these seems to be more, the benefit seems to be more high when it comes to K6 versus other tool when it comes to the your load generator capacity. Okay, this is a simple illustration that is available. And
Satish.
sorry, was there a question?
Yeah, this is Sai here, Satish.
Yeah. Sorry.
Satish, you mentioned one point is that compared with other tool load generators, K6 is more effective. But how come it will differentiate when we talk about load generators? Load generator will depending on the server infrastructure, right? Not tool infrastructure.
No. Okay. I don't know how much of experience you have, Sai, in load testing. You have two infrastructure, right? One, you have load testing tool infrastructure. You will have your Jmeter or LoadRunner installed in 5 or 6 machines, from which you will simulate the load. Okay, if you want to simulate 2,000 users of load, all those 2,000 users will not come from a single load generator machine. It has to come from a 5 or 6 machines to pump the load itself. And then other side, you have your app servers, right? You have your web servers, app servers, your Tomcat, where you will again have 5 or 6 or 8 servers, 8 nodes to handle the load. So you have two infrastructure. One is on the server side, the application under test will be deployed in a Tomcat or a JBoss, which will be clustered environment with more than 1 or 2 VMs or servers. That is your application under test server infrastructure. What we are talking is your load testing tool infrastructure, where your Jmeter or LoadRunner or K6 will be installed, which will be pumping the load. So the benefit what I'm talking about is on the testing tool infrastructure, Jmeter's LoadRunner um, footprint is a lot more high when it comes to K6. K6 is very lightweight. It consumes less CPU, consumes less memory, because of which for generating 10,000 user load, you might need 10-15 machines for Jmeter. For with K6, you might just need 2 or 3 or 4. So that was the tool infrastructure I was talking about.
Okay, you mean that at the end of the day, we should go to any cloud environment, cloud generators to execute the load, right?
It is up to the project team, right? They might already have the on-prem load generators, or if they are in cloud, they can absolutely use the cloud load generator. Doesn't matter whether you're going to use a cloud load generator or on-prem load generator. End of the day, everything is a mission. Every mission is going to have CPU and memory. So from this context, what I'm explaining, cloud or on-prem doesn't matter. But as you said, yes, our team can also use the cloud load generator for sure.
Yeah, I just want to understand here. So we are using some other tool called Akamai Cloud Test.
Okay.
Okay, there we are using the 6 LGs. Each LG the capacity of 2000 virtual users. We cannot go more than 2000. Okay, so that is the load generator capacity. It's not anything with my script, and irrespective of script, irrespective of scenarios, how I designed the flow. But when you say, suppose we are going to ship to K6, that means instead of 6 load generators, we can use only one generator is enough. You're saying, right?
Akamai versus K6, I don't know. For Akamai, what is your scripting language? Do you know that?
Java.
You write the code in Java, is it?
Yeah, but we don't code much. We have a lot of features in that tool itself. Okay, wherever if any customization is required, we will do it.
I got it. Okay, fine. See, we the intention is not to move from one tool to another tool, right? Akamai Cloud Test, SaaS-based offering. I know it is not an open source. It is a SaaS. You need to pay money to Akamai to achieve the load. Okay. So the objective of this course, is not to compare with all other tools. Jmeter being one of the very popular and most used tool, we wanted to bring that comparison, and also LoadRunner being a commercial tool, we want to bring this comparison. So Akamai Cloud Test, it's not very popular. It's maybe it is used in few of the teams, but to our knowledge, it is not there in top 5. Okay, for whatever reasons, it might be because of the tool's license cost, or the complexity, whatever it is, they don't know about it. So I don't have much information about Akamai versus K6. Whether to move away from Akamai to come to K6, that is something you can, after the course, once you know about the K6, right, you can do that exercise. Any tool which you are currently using, you think that the other tools can do better job with less cost, that is where we have to go and do a POC and prove that. And a lot of people who are using Jmeter, right? Though Jmeter is open source, they are now moving into K6 from a microservices perspective because of this very important benefit, where the reduced infrastructure. Reduced infrastructure will give you cost benefit, also the maintenance also, right? Looking into 10 load generator machine, instead of that, if you're going to just look into 2 or 3, it is going to be a much more easier one. So we have a concrete evidence that people are preferring K6, and it comes to microservices, service-based scripts, service-based execution. For that, people are preferring K6 when compared to the Jmeter or load generator. With Akamai, I don't have that much of information because we haven't done that study, since it's not that popular when we compare to Jmeter.
Satish, if you don't mind, can I add my 2 cents to Sai's question?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Sai, see, when you come to simulating a load generator, it all depends on how your threads, how your virtual user is being created, whether it is using a thread. If you take a LoadRunner, you have a 2 option, whether run virtual user as a thread or a virtual user as a processor. Okay, so when you simulate a virtual user, each virtual user runs as a thread. Okay, so the capacity is based on your infrastructure. But when it comes to Gatling, okay, it doesn't run with single user as a single thread. With single thread, you can run multiple user, because the architecture of Gatling is different. It works in it uses a Akka and Netty framework, where you can simulate more than one virtual user with a single thread. Whereas in the LoadRunner, you can only simulate one virtual user with one thread. You see the difference? Similarly, if K6 has a different architecture, I'm not sure about what architecture it uses, but if it has a different architecture, obviously you can simulate more virtual user with a less LGs.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So these tools coming up, thanks, Ganesh. These tools are getting developed, and they wanted to bring in some differentiator, right? Like acting or K6, they moved away from a regular way of creating scripts in C or Java and these tools, which are based on the very lightweight. It can use Scala. Your K6 uses a Go language. So all these languages are more of scripting kind of a language. So it doesn't need a lot of CPU power or resource consumption. So obviously the tools which are getting developed nowadays, they know the pros and cons of other tools, and that is how they are trying to bridge this gap. Okay, see these tools again, we are not going to implement it or replace it immediately, right? The reason for this course is K6. We are forecasting that K6 is going to be widely adopted. It's already widely adopted by a lot of people, especially for the microservices. And being an open source and the collaboration with Grafana, this is seeming out to be a very successful one. So in the future, we definitely see that this is going to pick up very lot, and that is why we wanted to have this beginner level course, right? At least the audience, the students who are going to attend this will get a basic idea about how K6 works, what are different components, how we can create the script. Probably I'll just go to that course content as well, right? So this basic or beginner course will focus on the from a script development perspective. So of course we are going to see what are the components that are involved in K6, what are the things to be installed, how are you going to set up your environment for scripting and execution. All this is going to be part of the introduction. And then from any tool, any performance testing project, you're going to focus on script development, execution, and analysis, right? Those are the three important things. From a scripting perspective, we will split this into two. One is for the services, be it as a REST APIs or web services or microservices, right? So for that, we will see how to create a script. We will use some good live real-time API documentations using a Swagger API documentation. We look into the REST APIs, and then we'll see how to build those scripts in K6. Okay, so how are we going to construct the scripts? How are we going to parameterize it? How are we going to correlate it? How are we going to handle the errors? So any script, you use any tool in the market, all these things are going to be common, right? That is why it is going to be easy for somebody who's already done scripting in any other tool. The other tools are going to be relatively easy. Only thing is, tool is going to be different. You need to understand what are the syntax, how it is going to be implemented, but the concept wise, it's still going to be same, right? So from a script development perspective for services, we look into how to create scripts, parameterization, correlation, error handling, all these things we'll look into it. Similarly for UI as well, UI additional thing is you cannot go and construct the script, right? It is not going to be easy. It has to go through a flow, right? It will have a login, it will have a screen 1, screen 2, screen 3, you enter the text fields, all these things are going to be there. So you cannot go and construct your script manually. So we are going to record it. Obviously there are a few recording options available which we'll look into it using a browser recorder or other options. And then once it is recorded, the customization is going to be pretty much same. So we'll see how to handle the correlation very specific to the UI based correlation, parameterization, and error handling. Then once your scripts are available, we'll go and learn how to execute these scripts, how to create the scenarios, how to apply the scenario settings, runtime settings. And there are a couple of ways you can execute this, either in your local or in the cloud. K6 also has a cloud option, also has a SaaS option. If you don't want to maintain the load generators at your premise, K6 provides a SaaS option. So we'll also see the K6 in cloud and execution in cloud. and then we'll see what are the options available for the reporting, right? What are the native reporting available? How we can integrate K6 with Inflex and Grafana. As I said, Grafana is secured by K6, so they have a very good. Obviously, they have integration with these tools. We'll look into how to integrate it. What are the dashboards that will be available from a reporting perspective? Okay, and as additional topic, always everywhere you go, people talk about Docker containers. More easy way of setting up your infra, your load testing infra. So we'll also see how to run the K6 in Docker. Okay, so again, the course is very much tailored to address the beginners requirement. When you get into a project, when you see a developer is using K6, when you have to use a K6, how you can go and confidently work on those projects. That is the very objective of this course. So the course will go over, I would say, 8 to 10 hours. Okay, anywhere between 8 to 10 hours, maybe plus or minus 3 hours. Okay, depends upon a lot of other things. So average, it is going to be 8 to 10 hours. Okay, and from the learning, how are we going to learn from respect to these scripts, right? So we are going to use two applications. One, it's going to be our Swagger documentation, which we will use it for creating our scripts. Okay, so let me quickly go and show you that. Yeah, so this Swagger pet store has a lot of your get calls, post calls for many of the your components within this pet store application, right? There are multiple services available, which we will go and try to use this in any projects, right? If you go to any project for creating the microservices, either you will get the request and response from the developer, okay, sample request and response, or you will be given with this kind of a documentation where you will get to know what are the different services, and for the services, what are the input parameters, what are the output parameters, and sample request, all these things you will get it here, right? So we will use these documentation similar to any project. We assume that this is the project requirement for your microservices. We'll go and pick these services, okay, and then we'll go and construct those scripts. Okay, so this is one we will use as a real-time API requirement, API document to for the get, post, put, delete, or all these CRUD operation, right? We'll use this document as a requirement, and then we'll go and create the services, service-based scripts. And second, for the web application, for the UI-based web application, we will use the one of the e-library application. Let me go and start this. Okay, let it start. So I'll show this application. Let it get started. Probably it'll take probably a few more seconds. Okay, so this is one part, right? So this, we are going to use these kind of a real-time documents, real-time applications for our scripting. Okay, and then from a software perspective, you might need to install a few of the software in your machine if you wanted to practice. Okay, so K6, of course. Will also have a drive, a Google Drive, where you will have all these softwares available. Let me open that drive as well. For the our learning, whatever is required, right? You might require the softwares like K6. You need InfluxDB. You need Grafana. You need VS Code. Okay, so all these softwares will be available in the Google Drive, which you will give access to download it, or you can also go and download it from the your respective sites as well. Both are pretty much fine with that. So it will be available in our drive. Or you can also go and get it from the internet also. Okay, so basic software that you need is K6, of course, K6 tool. You need to download and install. So when from installation perspective, right, you will get the once you download it, you just need to follow the instruction. You just need to go click, 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 click. Nothing else is required. It will get installed. Even it doesn't need Java in a machine. It doesn't need any other prerequisite software. You just go and install K6 by just doing a double click and then follow the instruction. Once you install it, right, you just need to there are a couple of components involved when it comes to K6. Okay. Okay, I'll talk about what are the components of K6 a little later. Second is you need VS Code. So like the other tool, right? You will have Vuegen for LoadRunner. You will have in Jmeter you have UI GUI where you'll go and create scripts, right? For K6 it doesn't have a GUI component by itself, but you can use these IDE. Especially you can use Microsoft Visual Studio for creating or for enhancing your scripts. Okay, so you need Visual Code as a second software, and then InfluxDB and Grafana are the optional one, but we will end up using it for sure from a reporting perspective. So you will have the InfluxDB running in your machine. Like this. Okay, well, we'll look into all these things anyway as part of the course. I'm just showing the software which you would need, which we'll be using it during the course. So InfluxDB will be running in your machine, and then Grafana is something again, one more tool which will be required for you to install it and use it. Okay, so Grafana will be running in your browser as a visualization tool, which is going to provide you the graphical representation of your results and analysis. Okay, let me see if the app server is started. Yeah, it is started. So let me go and open this. Yeah, so we'll use this e-library application to do login, and then there are a couple of functionalities available within the once you log into the server. There are a couple of functionalities available. Let it log in. Yeah, so you have view librarian, you have add librarian, and then this is for the admin login. Once you admin login with the regular login, I think the database is down, so it's not showing the data. So once my database is up, you'll be also able to go and view it, add the librarian, and then do a logout, and then you can also do a librarian login. Okay, with librarian login, you will be able to do a few more 5 or 6 transactions. Okay, so this is a sample app which you'll be using for your web-based scripting. Okay, and then yeah, I just wanted to tell you how this training is going to be done, right? So we'll be using microservice pet store project for creating service-based scripts. We'll be using e-library web application for your UI scripting, and you would require K6. You would need Visual Code. You need InfluxDB and Grafana to install in your machine for your scripting and execution. Okay. Now coming to components, right? I will look into it very detail from tomorrow when the session within the course starts. So from a component perspective, one is going to be your scripting component, right? From a scripting components, there are multiple options available. So K6, right? It provides two options. One, you can use the Visual Code in the in your Visual Studio, in your Visual Code. There are K6 plugin available. Okay, when you go and search for in the extension, right? When you go and search for K6, there will be few plugins that you need to install it for the first time. Okay, just click search K6 and then just do install K6 for Visual Studio and K65 language support, K6 snippets. Just go and install it. Nothing else you require. Okay, once you install your Visual Studio, it's just again a very simple way to install it. Download, double click, Visual Studio will be installed, and then in the extension you need to just go and search for K6, and you just need to install the K6 plugin. Okay, once this is done, you will be able to go and create your own scripts, but we are not going to go and manually type in the code, right? We're not going to do it at any point of time. Okay, so we're just going to use this for once the script is generated, we'll copy into this Visual Code, and then we'll be enhancing the script using this IDE. We'll be using only Visual Code for enhancement. We'll not use it for creating scripts. Then how do we create the scripts? K6 provides two options. Okay, there is a thing called your browser extension. Okay, so there's something called K6 browser recorder. This is especially for your UI based recording. Okay, and second option is going to be your cloud. K6 on the cloud. Okay, the K6 on the cloud, you just need to go and register it with your Gmail ID. It's absolutely free to register it. Okay, and then to create a new test, this is the whatever you're seeing in the UI is the cloud version of K6. Okay, but you can use the test builder for running a test for 500 users, 1000 users. You cannot do it because you have to pay to K6 for running a test in cloud. You can run the test in local, there's no cost since it's an open source. If you have to run it in the cloud, you have to pay money. But to create scripts, again, it is free. There is no restriction in for you to go and create the scripts. Okay, so there's something called test builder. Okay, so the test builder is available for you to do two things. One, you can go and record a scenario. You can import a R file. Okay, or you can go and manually add these things on your own. Okay, so you can go and say I need a request. I just go and provide the request, headers, query params, variables, checks for your microservices, right? You will go and refer the Swagger document, and then there is a get call. This is a get. You may have to probably authorize it. Okay, let me go through this in detail tomorrow. Okay, so what you'll do is we'll look into Swagger and get to know the API definitions. What is the URL? What is the query param? What is the body? And then you'll be going and constructing these in the your test builder. That is one option for your microservices. Okay, and or you can upload the R file, right? For the UI based scenario, you can upload the R file to get the script. Okay, so that is where your browser plugin will come into picture. Okay, so for example, if you wanted to go and record a simple flow, the browser plugin again, you can download it and install it directly from K6. Just go Google, search for K6. I will also provide the link to download it. Just a very simple extension that you have to add it to the Chrome. Okay, so you just click it and then you say go and start recording. You can go and just go to Flipkart maybe. Okay, go to fashion, maybe go to login. Okay, close this, go to cart, okay, and then go to the recorder and then say stop. Okay, so if you see R file is downloaded automatically. And this R file, you can go and import it downloads at 7:45. Yeah, this is a new recording. Okay, now if you see, you got the all the requests that are that you have navigated, flipkart.com, post call, and then whatever you have recorded, it will be available here. Okay, so you can also look into as a script. This is more of a UI based view, right? Whatever you have recorded, if you wanted to convert into a script, you can also convert this into a script. Okay, and for your enhancements, right, if you see whatever you've done, it would have come here, cart, everything. Okay, now if you can go and copy the script. That's how we typically do it, right? We record it, we convert this into a script, and then we can also go back and then copy into your Visual Studio as well, and then you can go and start your enhancements. Okay, so or without using your cloud as well, you can still convert your R into your script. That is where your CLIs are going to come into picture. Without using cloud, you can still do all these things. Okay, there's something called K6 CLI, command line execution. Okay, so first option is you can use the browser plugin to record it. You can use your K6 Cloud Test Builder to either manually create the microservice scripts, or you can convert the R file and then copy that into a visual code for your enhancements. What enhancements we are going to do it? That is what in detail we are going to learn. And the second option is K6 CLI. You can go to the K6 wherever you install K6, okay, and then open the command prompt and then type in K6. Okay, you will have multiple options. Okay, you will have option to convert a R file into a K6. Okay, you can run the load test. All these things are option available in your local itself for K6. Okay, you can run it from the command line, or you can run it from the Visual Code Studio as well. Say for example, this is my Visual Code Studio. In the terminal, I can go and run this. For example, if you want to run this, right, I can go and run this. So from a component perspective, you're going to have K6 CLI, K6 Cloud, and your browser plugin, your test builder in the GUI, okay, and then your visual code. As visual code, we are going to use it for copying the code, or once the code is generated by your K6 CLI from a R, we'll be able to use visual code for all the enhancements. So which means this Visual Studio code, we are just going to use it only for enhancements. It will be going to give a very easy look and feel, where you can go and modify your changes, add your error handling, add your correlations, apply your runtime settings, creating your scenarios, like how many duration it has to run, what is your target uses, what is your ramp up, what is your ramp down. All these settings you will modify it here. Okay, and then you will debug it here in the terminal itself by running it. Okay, and then for your execution, of course, we will use the command line with data sending to InfluxDB or Grafana, or we'll use the K6 Cloud also, depending upon the need and requirement of your project. Okay, so from a course perspective, we'll look into all these things in detail. As I mentioned in the course content, we'll go through the scripting options for the microservices, for the UI, how to create scripts, how to enhance it, parameterization, correlation, error handling, all these things we'll look into it. And from execution perspective, we'll see what are the runtime settings, what are these, how do you create a scenarios, how do you apply ramp up, ramp down, how to apply the user in your scenarios. All these things we'll do it in the from an execution perspective, and then we'll execute the test connecting to InfluxDB and Grafana to look into the reports. Okay, so yeah, that is what we are planned to do in the next a week or two. Okay, from a course perspective. Okay, I'll take a pause, guys. Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Satish, how much JavaScript knowledge is required to grab this course?
Not much. Okay. Okay, obviously the performance testing community who are going to use K6, right? They're not going to be that good in JavaScript. So a lot of these things all are going to be reusable codes. Okay, if you know JavaScript, it is going to be good. If not, um, from my perspective, I don't think you should go and learn JavaScript a lot to do this. There are going to be snippets available. See, end of the day, what we are going to do, we are going to do the error handling, we are going to do the correlation, we are going to do the parameterization. Everything is going to be common for all the scripts. For complex scripts, right? When it goes to complex scripts where you have to write some of the codes to handle the test data or handle the difficult correlation, right? There, you might, if you know JavaScript, it will be useful. Otherwise, for the microservices and all, it's all going to be snippets, same thing which you're going to keep using it every now and then. Okay, so from a practically what we have seen in the project, the people doesn't know JavaScript, they could able to still use it. Good to know. Probably once you in the project, once you know that K6 is the tool, you're going to use it for next 2 to 3 years, then it is also good to learn JavaScript slowly. Okay, but not a important dependency, I would say. There are going to be, see, even if you look into LoadRunner, right, you would, even without knowing C, I know 70% of people doesn't know C will still be able to use LoadRunner. Of course, LoadRunner, they provide all these things in a packaged way, but still, if you want to go and write the string functions, string handling and all that, you would still need knowledge about C. But a lot of people just reuse the snippets that is going to be available for all these string manipulations. So as you go along, you might end up learning few JavaScripts, but it's not necessary to know JavaScript and come to K6. That is not the major dependency, I would say.
Got it. And my second question is there any way to convert JMX to K6?
You never know. There might be somebody who would have done it. K6 might have done it. We may have check it out. See, Jmeter provides an option. You might know, right? There's an option to convert LoadRunner to Jmeter. The reason is they want to pull people from LoadRunner start using Jmeter, because earlier a lot of people have created LoadRunner scripts. To come out of that is going to be a huge task. So Jmeter came up with an idea where I can convert LoadRunner to Jmeter. Similarly, K6 now, if they wanted to compete or probably bring the people from Jmeter to K6, they might have created some. See, there's an easy way where HAR converter is there, right? You can run the Jmeter scripts, you can capture the HAR using any of your proxy tool, okay, and then from HAR you can construct the K6. That is a one way you can convert your Jmeter to K6 via the HAR. That is one option available. But without a HAR, is it a way directly you can do it? That could be an option already, or there might be an option very shortly. It's all possible. But direct conversion is not something which I have seen. But from Jmeter to HAR, you can get it. From HAR to K6, you can do it.
Okay.
Yeah, you have Fiddler. You have a lot of tools which can be used to get this HAR file for sure. When run a Jmeter script, capture the HAR file, and then from HAR you can get the K6. But only thing is the parameterization, correlation, all these things you need to again put it in the K6. Those functions are not going to get converted here, right? In Jmeter or LoadRunner, right? You might have specific function for your correlation or your error handling. Those will not get converted into a JavaScript. The recording, right? You have this navigation flow. So instead of you recording it from the scratch, you can use Jmeter, run it, Jmeter, get the HAR, and then get the K6 scripts. Exact Jmeter script to K6 script, I think that conversion is not available, and probably it will evolve as it goes. Somebody might have created an open source project to do this also.
Got it.
Okay. This course is going to be on the same time from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. From tomorrow. So if you have any questions regarding the payment or fee structure, you can reach out to Kumar sir. If you have any questions regarding the
I have one question. Hello?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, so what we're covering in the microservices.
See,
Uh,
microservices application, right?
yeah,
Where any application will have set of microservices, 10, 20, 30 microservices. So what what we'll do is we'll look into these the microservices requirement, right? In a project for microservices, the requirement will come from your developer, where you will ask him to send you the all the services and services request and response. All these details you'll get it from the developer, or in a matured project, you will get these open API documentation, Swagger kind of a documentation, which will have all the definitions. So looking into the definition, you will go and create the scripts. So in the session, we will look into the requirement, the service documentation. What are the get calls are there? What are the post calls are there? What is the URL? What is the query param? What is the sample request? And then we'll go and create, referring to this requirement documentation, we'll go and create the K6 script. Okay, for all these, not all the APIs, we'll pick 1, 2, 3, 4 APIs for each of these operation, get, post, put or delete, and then we'll go and create the script, and then we'll go and apply the parameterization. We'll go and see how to do the parameterization. We'll see how to correlate the server response, how to make your script pass or fail, do the error handling, and then yeah, that's how we will learn. That's what we will learn from a microservices perspective.
okay, at the last, like I have seen that Docker and container, that part in the,
Yeah.
so microservices infrastructure side we are covering.
No. There are two things, right? This is a K6 performance testing tool course.
Right.
With respect to when I say Docker, it is about how to install K6 in a Docker for execution. So this is not the microservices running in the container. That is also possible, but our course is about K6. How to use K6, how to script it, how to do execution. And then when we need to talk about execution, you can execute in the local, or you can execute in the cloud, or in the Dockerized container, right? So the container, what I'm referring is you're running a K6 in the container, not the microservices itself in the container, right? That is anyway. See, even if it is going to be installed in the container or a physical machine, end of the day, it is all URL for you, right? It's all the services endpoint is what you're going to have in your script. So for learning K6, it is not important whether the services are installed in the microservices are installed in container or in a VM. What we are going to learn is how to run your K6 in container.
Okay.
Yeah.
Satish, I have a few questions. First
Yeah,
thing is,
please.
so what are the different protocol does it support? So web service, is that only two?
Yeah. So majorly, it supports the web services, like your microservices, and then your web protocol, your HTTP protocol. There are other supports protocol available as well, but there are going to be a lot of workarounds, a lot of additional plugins you may have to install. But so when compared to a LoadRunner or Jmeter, that is where I think K6 lacks today. But again, when it comes to protocol, right, 80% of your projects, you will still be creating scripts for your UI, right, for web, and then for your web services. So in that perspective, it's all well and good, especially for microservices, it is most preferred. But other protocols like going to be SAP or SAP GUI or Citrix or other protocols, um, so far there's not that good support with K6. So K6 is going to be used majorly for your web-based applications, web services, microservices, which is your 80% of projects if you go anywhere. So in that perspective, it is all good and good. But if you want to go and really compare with other tools from a protocol perspective, it is not going to be comparable at all. Say for example, for Jmeter, right? It supports FTP, JDBC, LDAP. You can also do JDBC. It's not that you cannot do JDBC in K6, but it's not going to be very straightforward, right? You have to write lot of code to do that. JMS, Kafka kind of publisher subscription kind of services. All these things are still possible, I would say, definitely, but it's not going to be very straightforward. So when it comes to web application, web services, yes, K6 will be preferred definitely.
Okay. And because you said that K6 predominantly, dev team is also started using it for the unit test so that we can reuse the same script when it comes to PT. So something like that, right? So which means if the team is also going into CI/CD, so how does it integrate? Do you also cover that as part of your course?
See, CE/CD, it is going to be a lot more easier for K6 because it is end of the day, the code itself, K6 itself is code, right? JavaScript code. So all maintaining the code in the repo, and then committing the changes, and then executing the K6 in Jenkins. All these things are going to be very much straightforward. We are going to cover that in the course. I can provide the additional information for that for sure. But 100% K6 are going to be compatible with the pipeline since K6 provides the command line option, right, where you can execute the test from the command line directly. So obviously, from a Jenkins or any build tool, you will be able to execute a script in a pipeline. I'll try to see if I can set up this in a Jenkins. Okay, I'll try that, though it is not there in the course. I'll try to set up some jobs in Jenkins to execute the test in Jenkins. But that is definitely doable because end of the day, when compared to other tools, K6 itself is a K6 end of the day, it's a code, right? That's getting executed, JavaScript code. So it is very, very easy to run that from a command line, run it from your pipeline.
Okay. One last question from my side. See, already in my environment, we are using Jmeter, also Gatling for a couple of projects. Okay. So if we are trying to bring a new tool like K6, so what is the differentiator, key differentiator, I would say? Because if you say the minimal LG, I can achieve that with Gatling. And if you say the protocols also, it is same, more or less same as what Jmeter or a Gatling is supporting at the moment. Apart from that, is there any other differentiator that I do have if I want to bring K6 into the environment?
No, see, it is not necessarily a competing tool, right? We already have something good. Like if you say Gatling, it's already good. Gatling initially started like this, right? Developer based tool, but for some reason it did not go to the expected level. So if you're already using Gatling, people are comfortable with that. I mean, there is no meaning to go into K6, right? So which means we are not going to forcefully do something to bring in K6. No way. If you are using LoadRunner, if you are using Jmeter, there are going to be benefits available, especially with microservices, and that is where we will try to bring in K6. Or in a project where K6 is already there, we should know how to use it. So that is the intention of this course. And for your question, if Gatling is already there, I don't. Yeah, Gatling is also a Scala-based lightweight tool. From an infrastructure perspective, it's going to be on par with K6. So we should not forcefully go and push people to use K6 instead of Gatling. That is not something we should recommend.
Perfect.
If it is LoadRunner, Jmeter, that is a valid point. But with Gatling, there might not be that differentiation from a K6 and Gatling.
Thanks, Adish.
Okay. Any questions? You have additional things, right? Please put it in the chat. I'll be happy to answer you. If you have any questions on the course fees or payment, you can reach out to Kumar sir. Okay. Yeah, I'll stop the recording, guys. If you have any questions, we'll connect through offline in the WhatsApp as well. And the course is going to start from tomorrow. Yeah. Thanks for you everyone to joining this call.
What is the duration of this course?
Duration is going to be 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. and it's going to be for 8 to 10 hours approximately. It's a beginner course, so it's going to be somewhere around 8 to 10 hours.
Okay. Thanks.